spread to millions. Forces trying to corrupt that feeling. Piece of the pie, that's what they dealing. To sell your soul, you commit the treason. Gotta make ends, is that the reason? My innocence is what you're stealing.
My innocence.
But I never asked you how you got involved with Aerosmith.
Oh,
And that's how you and Jack met, I guess, right?
right, through Aerosmith. So how did I get involved with Aerosmith? The short version is I was just out of college, and I had just basically graduated. And there was really the job opportunities back then in the early 80s, there was zero. You know, you could be a insurance salesman and go and try to sell life insurance to all your relatives. That was like the entry level. I had a degree in management, minor in marketing. It wasn't like it was today. And so I ended up at the gym, a nice gym, but I ended up working out at the gym because I was athletic and working out, lifting weights. I was with a bunch of guys, a bunch of muscleheads, for lack of a better word. And this guy came in with long hair, short, about 5'6", 7", whatever, and he walked over to me and he says, "You look like you know what you're doing. I'm looking for somebody to work out with me, and I'm willing to pay him." I said, "Oh, you want me to be a trainer for you?" He goes, "Yeah." And he didn't look like he was a weightlifter. He didn't look like he was really that in shape. And he had long hair, so I just was like, "What's this guy about?" I said, "Well, what do you do?" Because I wanted to figure out when he would be available to work out. He says, "I'm in a band." I said, "Oh, what kind of a band?" He goes, "Well, I'm a drummer." I said, "Oh, okay. Are you in a wedding band?" No. I said, "Oh, okay. Where do you play?" This is a good one. I go, "Where did you play?" He goes, "Well, we play Madison Square Garden. We play the Pontiac Silverdome. We play," and it was mentioning all these places, these big football stadiums. So I said, "Oh, so you're in a marching band, huh, man?" The guy. That's how, because back then I was working as a bouncer at a night. I was running nightclubs with my friends, and I was doing stuff like that. And really, disco was was what was that? So you had the Sugar Hill Gang and stuff like that. We could all the bouncers could all sing that song. So Aerosmith wasn't really in my thought process. And long story short, he goes, "I'm in Aerosmith." I go, "Aerosmith?" And he started to play the drums on his chest, like bam, cha, ba-dum, bam, bam, like that. And so I said, "Okay, all right, easy, buddy." So, we're in a gym of muscleheads. And long story short, we started to hang out. We started to work out that summer, and he wanted me to get him in shape for his tour that was starting in September. And somewhere along that June, July, August process, he said, "Why don't you come on tour with us?" Because at that point, I was just making money training people and working in nightclubs. And so I said, "Well, I can't just go and hang out with you." I said, "How am I going to make money?" He says, No. He says, "Come out and you'll get paid." And, I said, "Doing what?" So, you could be my security guard, my bodyguard. I says, "Well, what does that pay?" Because I figured, it was ridiculous. And it paid more than if I had gotten a legit job out of college. For back in like it was over $1,000 a week back then.
And what year was that, roughly?
Like 81, 82, 80, 81. Okay, so think about it. I go home and I tell my folks, "Hey, I'm going on tour with a rock band," and my father's, "Well, what the hell are you going to do there?" And long story short, off I went. Somebody picked me. They sent a limo. The limo took me to county airport. Private plane lands. I get on the private plane, and off I go. And that was the first rock concert I ever went to was the Monkees. Actually, Jimi Hendrix opening up for the Monkees in Forest Hill, Queens, which I didn't, and I was a kid, right? And then the next rock concert I went to was Aerosmith. Working as a security guy, going like this in front of their door, in front of the dressing room door. That was it. There was no in between. Now, there was always music in my family. I was into music. But my father, Italian, he was actually a successful accordion player. Had a record and everything. He made a record. He played gigs when I was a kid. He was on the Joe Franklin show a couple of times. He was friends with Joe Franklin, you know. So it was a musical family. And unfortunately for me, or whatever, for whatever reason, I learned how to play the accordion in 7th and 8th grade. So when the Beatles were popular, I'm playing the accordion, as opposed to everybody else, you know, with the Beatles, who everybody played guitar, let's say. But anyway, so that's how I got involved with Aerosmith. And then I was gone. I was gone for 9 months, 10 months at a time. They kept me on retainer. The band was completely out of their minds back then. I can remember, and this is all documented stuff, but I mean, I really got an initiation. Stephen was from Yonkers. Stephen's father, Mr. Tallarico, he was actually the music teacher for a long time at Cardinal Spellman High School in the Bronx. So we had commonality, Stephen and I. He always, you know, kept reminding me he was from Yonkers, and Stephen's a character. You know, he's a genius. He's somebody. If he's your friend, he's your friend. Very similar to Wade. And you know, I hung out with those guys, and I really didn't think any of it. And I made sure nobody hurt them. And there were other. I wasn't the only guy that was watching them. We had a whole team of people. But I knew that, especially Stephen, needed protection. You know, and we could talk about Aerosmith stories another time. But so I went with them, and then doing that, as you know, once you're in that scene, once you're working for that management company, that initially I worked for Lieber Krebs, so we had the Scorpions, Def Leppard, Aerosmith. Yet they had Don McLean, they had AC/DC, Joan Jett, and I'm missing a bunch of people. All right, so we had everybody, and you start to then work with those people too, or you start to help out, and then that led to hooking up with Rich Fisher, who was a tour manager, and also Doc McGee, who's to this day still does management. He's managing Kiss now, but back then he was managing Motley Crue. So then I got involved with Motley Crue. I got involved with Bon Jovi, and the list goes on, and it kept going, because the bottom line is that I always made sure I stayed more coherent than the client.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to be on point, and I made sure I was on point, and I did my job. And really, I was used to chaos from growing up in the Bronx. I was used to a lot of chaos. So the chaos of the rock and roll scene, because it's very chaotic. You never know what's happening, including people overdosing and you having to resuscitate them and so on and so forth. So, but that chaos, it was just more chaos. So I was I was used to it. It was almost like it was calm. I was uneasy. So it was successful, and I took that as far as it can go, as far as I could handle, because it just, after 19 years of being around that scene, it got to be too much. And that's when Jack said, "Why don't we get into producing? Come and produce this. Come and write this with me. This mob story." And that's what happened there. And from that, once again, that's how we met. And then since then, after 9/11, which was shortly thereafter, which is also what kind of took the starch out of our thing. And we're just, the fact that our Mob Story is called a cult classic. If you look it up, it's in like magazines, and it's a cult classic and whatnot, which is cool. At least there's some recognition. But my point being that obviously we barely broke even with that. We had a lot of fun. But the idea was to make some money. It wasn't a not-for-profit endeavor. Then 9/11 came, and that completely changed everybody's life. Similar to what we're going through now, in the way that the event of 9/11 obviously disrupted a ton of people's lives, and this event is obviously disrupting a ton of people's lives. Is the way I look at it.
Which is why we're doing it, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Try to get people to think about it.
Yep. So after 9/11, I just felt like I had to get closer to my two sons, and as a result, I got into coaching hockey. I had played hockey as a kid. I always watched it. I used to take Steven, whatever town we were traveling on tour. If I saw a hockey game, I would take Steven to the hockey game and get him to sing try to get him to sing the national anthem, or just the fact that by asking the promoter, "Hey, give me 2 seats because Steven wants to go to a hockey game," I would get great seats, and we'd go into the locker room, meet the players. They'd give us jerseys, whatever. It was a cool thing. So I always, when it was hockey season and we were touring, I would always try to connive or finagle one of the guys in the band to come with me. So it was good. And in '02 I got into hockey, and that turned into me actually coaching. Going right up the ladder, and I got into coaching because I enjoyed trying to make a difference in the kids I was coaching, and in trying to just tell them the mistakes I had made. And I was talking from experience in a lot of the things that they were encountering as I coached older kids, and that was drugs, dealing with whoever you're going after, as far as whoever your gender is that you want to chase, whether it's men or women, whatever. Relationships. I was always there to tell them, that, and just try to tell them that, no matter what, you're not impressing me with the fact that don't come here and try to impress me with the fact that you're partying or you're doing this or that with your girlfriend or whomever, because I don't want to hear it. You're not going to get anywhere doing drugs. You're not going to get anywhere drinking to excess, and you're not going to get anywhere, for lack of a better word, screwing around. So that's the thing that I've tried to instill in these guys to get an education, play hockey. It develops your ability to be a team. All right. The same way that we were all a team when we went on tour, no matter what people were doing, especially your road crew, they would band together because the most important thing was that the show's got to go on. No matter what happens, we got to make that show. And if it's 8 o'clock that we got to be in the arena, we're going to be there by 8 o'clock. And that was always the goal. Sometimes it didn't work, but it's the same thing with his team. When I coach a hockey team, it's the same thing. Our goal is to win. How do we win? We're there on time. We're prepared. Okay, like a sound check. Well, we're going to practice, and then we go to the game and we put on a performance at the game, or we would go and put on a performance with the bands. So there's a lot of similarity to that. And now that this has happened, and a little bit, I would say in the last couple of, in the last year or so, I've gotten back into getting involved in entertainment because it's really, it's in my blood now. And I have, as you know, after doing this for so many years, you get so many contacts that why not get back into it? And so that's what I'm doing. And I've been doing it, like I said, for about over a year now. And then when we talked, when all of this, when the coronavirus hit, and we were talking the last couple of weeks, as much as we said, wow, we should really have these discussions and record them, and how can we unite people that we know, the people that we're going to meet by doing this, all right? And if it gets bigger than that, and if we could have this symbol of unity, hopefully we'll be able to help people.
Right, and that's basically what the show is going to be about. This first show is to get our friends to be familiar with with us, your friends, with me, and mine with you. And but yeah, the purpose, as you said, is to start having conversations that can matter, give people hope.
Yeah.
Give people something to think about, because we are, a lot of folks are saying it's a reset was the word that you used.
Reset. Yeah.
And I agree. It's a reset if we choose for it to be. A lot of us are saying, well, I can't wait for us to get back to normal, but normal is how we got here.
Yeah.
We've got to go to a place that we haven't been before. So I look
from now on, really, that's where from now on I think comes from, really. Yeah. From now on, we'll appreciate our family. From now on, we'll appreciate our freedom. The freedom. Mm-hmm. This is like house arrest. I've talked to friends of mine that maybe know a little bit more about house arrest than you and I do. Yeah. And that's what this is. So we're going to appreciate our freedom. The freedom just for you or I or anybody listening to this to get in their car and drive to the diner and sit down and eat, or drive to a nice restaurant and sit down and eat, or in some cases drive someplace for happy hour.
Yeah.
You can't even do that. And initially, when I left the house, like in the last 2 weeks, or 3, even, yeah, 2 weeks. No, this is the 3rd week. Anyway, initially, I would leave and say, you know what, I'm a little hungry. I'm going to go to wherever and have a bite. And then I realized that I can't. So it's that freedom. It's that freedom to do that. And I think what's important for people to realize, and what I really picked up on and I'm having a really good time with, is pick the phone up and call a friend. So obviously we started doing that. Mm-hmm. But I'm calling, like even the other day, John Saliano and I had a conversation, and we talked for about maybe 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes, and we were telling things, you know, about our childhood to each other that we didn't even know. Mm. We grew up together. So just stuff like that, it's great. I'm going to say that it's a blessing, not what's happening, but it's a blessing to have that conversation with people that we normally wouldn't have. So it's more a blessing to have all of the interference in life eliminated. Nothing about this virus is a blessing. I don't want anybody to misinterpret me. What's going on is horrendous worldwide, and I'm speaking, as you know, and you are also, to people that are in other countries. All right. And last night we had Valerio on, and that was I can't wait for the people to hear that. That's a great message of hope, and the spirit that he has is incredible.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to bring to it.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing things like talking about anxiety. I know I did that. I know you got a couple of things coming up that we're gonna tackle, or at least discuss, mental illness and anxiety. What's going on with people? Because you're in Santa Fe, I'm up here in Westchester County. All right, you can open your door and you have a beautiful view. You could even if you're quarantined, you're not even stand in place, but you could see mountains and whatnot. I have a nice porch. From now on, I'm going to appreciate the porch that's attached to my house, because I have taken that view for granted. Because I have green space behind my house. So I've taken that for granted. I've been here maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
It's made me appreciate that. I have my binoculars. When I look into the forest, there's deer down there. They're hiding because if the food supply in New York goes low, they know that they're next, right? So not by me. Somebody's going to get the idea.
Yeah. It's an interesting time, and we'll get through it. It's just a matter of seeing what we look like when we do. How we get through it.
Well, it's going to evolve, and I think having a positive mindset is really what's key. Is to look at as much as you can. You can't do everything, but look at as much as you can in a positive lens. With a positive lens, I think that's the key for this. So the fact that people, I really believe that you got to pick up the phone and you got to call friends. You got to stop watching the news. You can't watch the news 24/7. All right, maybe not you, but I know I can't. I can't watch the news, and I'm sure there's other people that really don't watch the news 24/7. Because if something good happens or bad, you're going to hear your neighbors. They're going to be making a ton of noise. All right, if something great happens, fireworks are going to go off. All right, but I don't think we're close to that happening. But to watch it for 24 hours a day, I think that's way too much information. I really do. I think it's unhealthy. I think if you have a smart TV and you could put on the YouTube channel, obviously we want them to go to our YouTube channel, right, from now on podcast. But even once you get through with our fantastic videos that are going to go up, right, you got let's say Pavarotti, Andrew Bolagelli. I call him Andrew Bolagelli, but you have him live in Tuscany. We watched that the other day. It was beautiful. We had that blasted and fantastic. So just stuff like that, very healthy. And the other thing that people have to, everybody's got anxiety, rightfully so, payments. call the car company, call the mortgage company, defer your payments, call the credit card company, take a look at your bank statement, look at all the deductions, okay, and then call everybody and just tell them you don't have the money. You don't have the money.
Monthly automatic deductions you're talking
about. Automatic deductions, absolutely. I mean, it's essential. And there are some people, when I tell them that, they're not really aware of that for whatever reason, and that's cool, but that's why we're here, for things like that. And also, there's a bunch of programs now that finally, and I don't want to get political, but finally we have a bunch of programs that have been voted in by both parties, and everybody should go to the websites and look at what's available, because there's no reason now. The anxiety of getting laid off really should be minimized by the fact that not only are you going to get unemployment, but you're going to get the unemployment in a lot of cases at the amount of pay that you were making. Mm-hmm. It's important that people realize that. And if you're an independent contractor, okay, you can get, I think it's $600 a week. Mm-hmm. That's going to help you, especially if you defer all your payments.
Right.
Right. So let's face it, you're not going to spend money on air. You're not flying anywhere, and you're not going on a cruise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're in your house, man. So
well, as we wrap this first show up, I just want to touch on something you said. He said, you don't want to get political, and I know what you mean by that. You don't want to get into a conversation or get anybody into a thought process. Well, he supports this, and I'm against it. And there are obvious things that are right and wrong, and that's why our friendship is the way it is, because we talk about things based on the human cost, not the Democratic or Republican or independent cost. And that's how we'd like to see people engage this show, because we're going to talk about things that have to do with what's the best situation for us as humans and as a society. And quite frankly, everyone knows that there's not a political party on the planet in any country that has been 100% behind the positive movement of human beings. There's always a catch. There's always a catch.
Yeah.
So it comes down to us, particularly here in America, because the country is so powerful. We've got to grow beyond our politicians, because they're in a position of leadership and they're not supposed to be.
Right. We the people. We the people.
Be representatives.
Yeah. I believe it's we the people. Yeah. The other thing is, I believe we have freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. But more important, the thing that I try to certainly for myself is I have freedom of the mind. So I have my mind has the freedom to decide right or wrong, left or right. I want to decide that. I don't appreciate the being brainwashed. I'm not going to allow it to happen to myself. I'm very aware of that. So I call it freedom of the mind. And there's that line, free to mind, and the rest will follow.
Free your mind, your ass will follow. That was Parliament Funkadelic. I don't know if that originated with them.
Yeah, free your mind, and the rest will follow. That's a song. That's a line to a song.
Well, they said free your mind, your ass will follow. I'm sure it was a take on something else. Yeah. it had a dance angle to it.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. So I changed it to free your mind and the rest will follow. It really will. So that's where I'm at as far as that goes. But this is not going to be CNN against Fox News and all that kind of crap, because it's you and I, and sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree, but actually most of the time we do agree. Though. That's a good point. But actually, like you said, it's really when we talk and what we're trying to put out there is that what's really right for the world, what's right for our country and what's right for the world, and how do we get what's right for our country to be in simpatico with the world.
I think think it's easier to get to what's right if the intentions are proper. That's what we struggle. Not us, but that's what a lot of people struggle with. Too many of us try to sell our version or our vision or our idea or our belief as the way it should be. And I understand the passion behind a belief, but what can overcome the confusion that can bring when two opposite beliefs meet? We get the Sharks and the Jets meeting, the playground. What's the intention? Now, unfortunately, with the Sharks and the Jets, their intentions were the same, which was to hurt each other and to dominate. Okay, but the intentions of the young boy and Maria, I can't remember the male character's name.
No, can I?
But their intentions were to get past the apparent differences they were taught that they had.
Right.
And their intentions was to come together in love. So in discussing these things, if the intentions are to get to a good place for everyone, it's much easier to overcome philosophical things.
Right.
It's harder to overcome religious things because those can be very, very different. But you got to work on those too, because religious wars have been forever as well.
True.
So it's just basically human failings. So intentions can overcome all kinds of ridiculousness, I think.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
So, with that said, I'll see you on the next show. We should have we're looking to have Michael Pettis in from Beijing. Michael Pettis is like one of my heroes. He owned, I don't know if it's still operating, the biggest punk club in Beijing. He had the prominent punk label in Beijing. I think it still operates. Called the club was called D22, and the label was called Maybe Mars. And I flew over a couple of times to Beijing to produce one of his bands, produce an album for them.
That's right. I remember that. How many years ago was that? That was.
Oh gosh, that was a while ago. It was over 10 years ago now.
It was. Wow.
Yeah. But he is a professor at one of the big universities in Beijing, and so he committed last night to come on our show.
That's awesome.
And, talk about what's happening there. So
we got the Italian correspondent. We have the China correspondent. That's not bad. Anybody out there want to be a correspondent in another country? Let us know. I can be Canadian correspondent from the hockey.
Yeah. And subject matter. If there are things people like us to discuss, you drop us an email at what's our email address?
From now on, 2021 at gmail.com. And it's 2021 because I think 2020, everybody's had it with 2020. So let's just postpone. 2020 has been canceled, and now it's going to start 2021. It's the first year that's going to have about 15, 16 months to it.
15 or 16 months to it?
We're just going to start. We're just going to start like 2021 now.
All right.
As soon as this virus is over, man, 2021 starts. Drop the ball, right? Really, we got to have a big celebration. The world should have a celebration when this is done. And that, you know what I'm saying? And that'll be 2021. We'll just have a couple of years extra. Have a couple of months, pardon me.
Yeah. So drop us an email there from now on, 2021 at gmail.com.
There you go.
We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Everybody pays the man. I done did it now, stuck in my damn luck. How many ways can I spell fuck? Sinking like a rock in the bay, wasting away, thinking back, I had it made. Damn, I used to be the man of the man, until I crossed that black hand. Too smart for my own good, just a little slice off of me. Now it's Lord have mercy, I thought I was nice, and now I'm paying it back with my life. You could think you this, you could think you that. Yo, cat kiss the fact, no matter what or where you at, no matter who the hell you think you are, everybody pays. Everybody pays, your man with a cigar. Everybody everybody pays. A man with a cigar.